Hi there, Jeep owners. Today in your 2020 Jeep Gladiator, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Yakima's Overhaul with the sidebar attachment. These side rails have T-slots in them, just like the Overhaul, but is a separate part number that you can add to the kit to help increase its rigidity and flexibility. Yakima's Overhaul HD with the sidebar installed is going to give you an additional T-slot that runs down the side to attach your accessories to. It can also be used as a tie-down point. And if you have accessories that you want to clamp on the side, you could do so as well. The arm is adjustable, so you can get the appropriate length for however you've got your spread set. And if we look here, the opening on the side with the smaller adjuster here is where you'll put in your T-slots. If we take a look at the opposite side, we can see here that the welds are down here on this side. You're going to have a real hard time getting any T-slots in on this side. An example of some accessories you can use in your sidebar is tie-down anchors. But one of the more popular ones we're seeing people use are roto packs on them. And Yakima has a mounting kit that is specifically designed to mount the roto packs onto the T-slots of their ladder racks, roof racks, as well as the sidebar. And that's really a good spot because we could probably put a couple of these on each side and you can have plenty of fuel, water, whatever you need on your outing. We'll begin our installation by organizing our parts. I've set them out at roughly the location where we're going to be installing them on the rails. You want to make sure that the rear rails here will sit with the arm towards the rear of the vehicle. You can see it's got the angle going towards the front. And then the front rails will be just the opposite with this arm towards the front and the angle towards the back. We also want the top to be pointing in towards the center. The feet are going to be identical between all of them, so you just want to add one of those to each one, and then you're also going to get 2 clamps for each of your legs. We'll now go to our crossbars. The end caps that are installed on there, we're going to remove those so we can slide the insert here. These are threaded inserts. There is going to be a single bolt that you'll have to remove. You will get tools included with your kit. So we're just going to use the included tools to remove the bolts. And once you get that loose, sometimes it's easier to just flip it over, get that screw out of there. Our end cap then slides off. We'll then reinstall our end cap, making sure that the T-slot is facing towards the top. You'll know you have the top if you see the strip located here. If you see the numbers on bottom, that's the bottom side. So we'll slide it back in, reinstall the bolt we had removed, and then we'll repeat this procedure for the 3 remaining locations, the one on the other side of this bar, plus the other bar on each side. Now we can get ready to install our base pads. Now I did mention before when we were laying these out, just put one next to them because they're all basically the same. They are slightly different, so we are going to show you how to get the one in the correct location. So first we're going to look at the slots here. You'll see that you have a long slot and a short slot. For the front set here, we're going to put the long slot towards the front of our Jeep. The other thing we want to look at is the attachment here. There's going to either be a bolt, which like you see here on this one, it's just an Allen key head bolt. That's a non-locking pad. And then if you have the one that kind of sticks out like this, that's for the lock to attach to. So this is a locking pad. We're going to have the front driver's side one be a locking one, and then the rear passenger one is also going to be a locking one. This will set in place on top of your bed rails. It's a good idea to clean your bed rails first. We've already got ours cleaned off here. We'll notice here that on this particular vehicle, it does have some extrusions that shoot out right here. So we are not going to go beyond those points. We want it to sit flush against the rail, so we don't want it cocked like that. We want it to be nice and flush. So probably at about this point, we don't want to be on any curves. We can then take the spacers that come in our kit and the long, larger Allen head kit bolts. They're going to drop down through the slot. And then the hooks that come included with your kit are going to go underneath the bed rail, and your bolt is going to thread right into it. We'll just loosely get that one started for now, and then we're going to do the same thing with the rear hole. You also get a large Allen key in your kit. That is the one that's designed for these larger bolts here. I like to just start them by hand, and then I'll switch over to the tool afterwards. For starters, we're just going to snug it up until they just about touch the bottom there. That way it's not going to be able to just fall off of there. So now that we've got them run up, we just want to check for any obstructions here on the bottom, see if we have any in the way. And as long as there's no obstructions, we want to put our clamps with as far a spread apart as you can, as long as you're not going to interfere with anything under those rails there. So now that we've got that position, we're going to go ahead and snug these down. And then we'll torque these to the specifications found in our instructions. We can now get our arm set in place. We're going to loosen up the bolt located on the side there. It uses the smaller Allen tool that comes included with it for the locking one here if you can't loosen it by hand, but mine came loose enough to where I could just do it by hand. We'll then grab our arm. We're going to set that into place and then tighten down our bolt once again. Just get it to where it's snug. Next, we're going to want to measure the height that we want to set our arms to. We're going to put ours to where they're high enough to where if we had anything that was sitting on our ladder rack that it could go over the cab, we wouldn't have to worry about accidentally causing any damage to the roof. So we're going to go ahead and figure out the distance here. And it looks like we're going to put it 22 inches. It looks like a pretty good number. There are 4 bolts that you'll need to loosen to adjust the height. There's 2 on each side, and you're going to use the larger of the handled Allen tools that come included in your kit. These are tamper-proof, so if you look down in the center, you can see there's a hole drilled out in the middle, and there's also a small tab in the center of each one that prevents people from coming along and making any adjustments. You do have to have the right tool. And if we look on here, we have numbers written on there, so you can pick whatever height that you want. And we measured about 22, so that's where we're going to go ahead and lock ours down. So we're just going to retighten those 4 bolts that we had just loosened up after lifting it up to the height that we desire. Once we've got this tightened down, we can repeat the same procedure over on the other side. When putting your rear ones on, it's basically the exact same procedures. Just check that orientation to make sure you've got it facing the right way, and you want to make sure that they're even on the same side. You'll also see in your instructions there is a minimum distance, so you want to at least have it set between the minimum and maximum distance in your instructions. Now that those are all in place, the brackets that we had inserted earlier, went ahead and slid those towards the center, and then we'll set our crossbar into place. Once you've got it set into place, we want to measure the distance and make sure it's the same on each side. So just adjust it until they are equal. The bar is pretty tight down in here, so you might want to lift it back out of there when making your adjustments side to side to get it even, and then pop it back down in there and then just recheck yourself, because it just is really stiff, so it can be hard to move it once you get it in there. Now we'll take the shorter Allen head bolt that comes in our kit. We're going to place a lock washer on it, followed by a flat washer. And the plate that we have here, we're going to slide it over until it lines up with the hole in the bottom of our leg. With this one here, I do find it easier if you kind of, you got to almost like squeeze and pull the arm up, or else the bolt's not going to be long enough to actually reach the bracket. So make sure you do got that as close together as you possibly can. Slide your bracket into place, and then just run your bolt up and get it started. Then we'll put our other bolt in, get it started as well. And I like to leave these loose so I can double check my crossbar spread and make sure it's the same on each side. Once you verified that it's the same, you can go ahead and tighten it down. Now that we've got everything fully installed, I went and double checked all my measurements to make sure everything's nice and even, and also double checked to make sure everything was properly tightened and torqued. Once all that's done, we can go ahead and install our locks to protect our investment. We'll just take our lock and slide it over the lock tab on each of the legs, making sure it's fully inserted. And then we can go ahead and lock it, and you can see it's going to hold it on there. We'll repeat for the other leg. Once you've got your ladder rack installed, we can then take our side arms here and we're going to set it in between the legs for our ladder rack. And then we're going to loosen up the screw here. You'll see there's a short section and a long section here. We want to loosen the one up on the long section. We're going to be using the Allen key that comes included with the sidebars. Once you've got that loose, you can see that the arm will slide in and out here. There's attachment points right here on our leg for the Yakima side arm here for the sidebar. We're going to extend it out, line up the holes, take the hardware that comes included with the side rail. We're then going to put a lock washer on, followed by a flat washer. Go through our side rail into the leg of our overhaul. And I like to get one started into each hole on one side, then I'll go over and start the ones on the opposite side. We can then use the included tool to come back and tighten down our hardware. We're going to tighten it into the ladder rack first, and then we'll go back and tighten the adjustment bolt for the length. And that completes our look at Yakima's overhaul with the Yakima side rail attachment.